Hello guys and dolls, today we're going to be reviewing the Dinair airbrushing compressor system as well as the airbrushing makeup that they sell as like a kit or whatever. Dinair was actually the first makeup that I tried, and I really, learned initially how to airbrush with Dinair, so this is sort of how I got my foot wet with it. So I'm very excited. Everything that I've used since then I always reference back to Dinair since it was the first that I tried. So I just want to kind of break it down into segments to make it a little bit easier to digest. So the first thing I want to talk about is the compressor itself. So it's this little teeny tiny purple box. How cute is this? Now this comes in like 14 different colors. I think you have to pay an extra $20 to get like some of the fancier colors, and they have like leopard print and stuff, and I think those are like $40 more. So I have the purple one, just some really basic stuff about it. Here on the bottom it has these little like rubber grippy things, which are actually really helpful when you have it on, so it doesn't like move across your table because it kind of rattles a little bit. Then you have this little holder guy here, which is for holding the airbrush. I saw reviews and everyone kept saying theirs kept falling out or that it wasn't very useful. I find it to be tremendously useful, and I think this is really great. And I've actually tried to even like force and pull it out. I can't. So I think they've improved the little thingy holder. Then it has the air hose, which is very rubbery looking. It kind of makes me think up your nose with a rubber hose. It looks cheap, but it doesn't feel cheap. Like if you squeeze it, it feels pretty substantial, but it just looks like something that like a small child would just love to cut up. So keep this away from children, please. Then we come to, I'm gonna put this down before I end up flinging it at the camera. Then we get to the dial, which starts out at about 6 o'clock, which is off basically. There's no button that turns it on or off. At about 3 o'clock, that's what you'd want to use for blushes, eyeshadows, things of that nature. I really haven't gotten into using this for eyeshadow and things like that, but I have used it for blush, and this is about where I have it for blush. Sometimes maybe more like there. Then at high noon, this is where I usually use it for foundation. Sometimes I kind of sneak it over right between 12 and 1 o'clock just to get a little bit more pressure. I find that this system is a really low pressure compressor. They claim that it's up to 15 psi, but when you start putting it at 1 o'clock and beyond, which is where I think it hits that 15 psi, the compressor starts to really struggle. So I don't really recommend putting it up that high unless you're just cleaning it really quickly or things like that, because it does start to struggle. I had one night where it actually pooped out on me. It didn't die, but it just was really overworking itself. It was about to have a heart attack, so. Even though the size is kind of an issue in terms of it not being very powerful, if you're purchasing this for personal use, it's great because it's small enough that it can be left out on your countertop easily without taking up a lot of room, or you can also travel with it easily without it taking up a lot of room in your luggage. So this is quite convenient for personal use, maybe not so much for professional use. This is the Dinair airbrush. On the front side here it says Dinair, but because I'm right-handed I like to hold it this way, so we'll continue to do that. This has a really great size to it, at least for a woman's hand. I have very small hands. Some of you will probably have much larger hands than me, or if you're a man or anything like that, you might find it a little tiny, a little delicate, but I think it works really well. The placement of the lever is very intuitive. It feels nice in the hand. This is a continuous airflow system, and what that basically means is as soon as you turn it on, air is coming out. With some other systems that I have, you have to press down and then pull back to get the air to come out. So it's just a difference. I don't really have a preference for either one. What I do like is that because it's continuous airflow, as soon as it gets turned on, if you're using it on someone else or even on yourself, you can get used to the air right away, just, without even thinking about it. Yeah, it's not like a deal breaker whether it's continuous airflow or not though. The lever is really easy to control, to pull it all the way back or to just do it a little bit. It has a rubber grip on it, which makes it way easier than some of the others that I have that don't have the rubber grip, so I find myself just kind of cranking it all the way back, which is not good. It also comes with these little rubber stoppers, which you can have a little bit further up. As I mentioned, this has a lower air pressure, so I do tend to kind of pull back a little further on it to get more of the makeup out. But if if you're not wanting to pull it all the way back, if you're just learning, these are fantastic training wheels, and I wish more companies would do this because, airbrushing is such a learning curve. Can't talk. The cup on this is kind of on the smaller side. For me, it's kind of a little bit of an issue when I go to back bubble to mix. I have to mix either 2 or 3 colors just depending on my coloring that day to get my correct shades. So it's kind of a pain because I always have to mix, and I find that it's coming all the way up. I recently cleaned the entire inside of the airbrush, and ever since then it's been running a little bit more smoothly, and I'll get to cleaning it and stuff later in another video. But because the cup is so small, I don't know, I kind of wish it was just a little bit bigger. But I think it also encourages you to use less of the makeup, which when you first start airbrushing, you find that you'll use way more than you need. So yes, no, maybe so. It's kind of a here nor there. It is smaller. I wish it was larger. It's not a deal breaker. And then Dinair also sells these little caps for the brush, which I think is kind of cool. Keep them dust free. In the DVD, I believe that Dinair suggests using a little pot of water or using like putting water in the system itself while it's resting. I don't really do that. What I tend to do is just run some water through it before I go to use it. So, you know, you do what you gotta do, darling. Alright, so now for the actual makeup. Dinair has 20 different shades of foundation and 12 different shades of blush, which I think is pretty good. They also sell like fantasy colors and bronzers and shimmers and things like that. But for the purpose of this video, we're just going to talk about the blush and the foundation. Now, according to Dinair, this makeup is HD quality. It is suitable for everyday wear, and it should last about 24 hours. I'm filming in HD right now, and I think it looks pretty good on camera. One thing I will say is that it actually does sort of exacerbate the appearance of my pores right in here. I have really big pores right there, so most makeup kind of makes it look bad. I used this on a friend who has much smaller pores than I do, kind of drier skin but not very flaky, which mine tends to be kind of flaky in the dry patches, and it looked fabulous on her. So I think that if your skin is properly prepped and everything, it looks great. The pore thing, that's just kind of the way my skin is, and I just gotta learn to live with it. I don't think that on camera it looks bad at all. In fact, I think even in person, most people with this makeup on are like, wow, you look so great. I'm the one who really notices the pores, so you know, whatever. In terms of like the claim of it being 24-hour wear, I never wear my foundation that long. I take it off before I go to sleep every single night. I'm very, very diligent about completely removing my makeup before I go to bed, so in terms of it being good for daily wear, I haven't worn it daily, so I can't say, but I do wear foundation every day, and I feel like as long as your skin doesn't react badly to wearing foundation every day, I don't see any reason why it would react badly with this foundation. I haven't found that I break out from it or anything like that. This foundation has a matte formula, so it has like no shine to it really. After a few hours, I find it get a little glowy, and if I want more of a glow, you can always use the Moist and Dewy. They actually recommend sometimes to use this before the makeup, and I find that that just makes it a hot mess and makes it slick off. But I do find that if I have a little bit of makeup left in the airbrush and I apply just like 1 drop of this and just kind of put it over the parts of my face that tend to get kind of drier, it works really well. I didn't do that today. I find that when I first apply it, I'm really taken aback by how dry it looks, and it's always a little bit too light for me. But I found that if you do it just like a half a shade too light, within an hour it oxidizes just a little bit, as makeup does, and it's not a bad thing if it oxidizes. It's just the natural chemical breakdown of the oils in your skin with the makeup. But it turns out to be my perfect shade if I just give it that time. So within an hour it looks fantastic and everybody's happy. I just talked about it oxidizing, so you guys might kind of get the impression that it's kind of heavy feeling. Not at all. In fact, I can barely even feel it on my skin. It just pretty much feels like I have moisturizer on. And that's something that's great for me because most traditional foundations feel really disgusting on my skin by about hour 5. I'm usually like wanting to like scrape it off with like a credit card or something, just like get this off my face. Most people will actually have to use a few different shades, which is great because the starter kit actually comes with a couple different shades of foundation. When you go to repurchase it, it's not going to completely break the bank because you can buy these little 1/4 ounce sizes for I think $12, or you can buy half an ounce for $16. So if you buy 2 of them, it's $32. It's still a little bit more expensive than buying traditional makeup. It's airbrush, so you're not exactly bargain shopping if you're doing airbrush anyway, so. Okay, now let's talk about the blush. For me personally, I prefer the tactile feel of applying brush in powder form with a brush. I don't know what it is, I just immensely prefer it. However, if you do want to airbrush the blush on, I recommend putting the blush on before you do your overall face foundation because it goes on really kind of strong and you don't want to have like dolly cheeks. I will say that I did end up going over this with Mocha Blush from MAC, and the shade of this one was Dark Peach Pink. It looked fabulous at first, but after a while, I think when I powdered my face, I really lost the color, so I was like, oh my god, put some blush on stat. because I'm a blush hoe. Faux show. Another thing I want to mention is that you can conceal blemishes with the makeup. However, if you want it to look best, I recommend using a concealer beforehand. Now, Dinair actually gives you a concealer with your kit. I wish I could say great things about this, but I really don't like it. It's kind of on the greasier side, which again, oil and water don't mix, so it doesn't work very well with their makeup. For me, the shade is really, really wrong, which I guess is really neither here nor there because you can always find a shade that matches you better. It has a slightly grayish tone to it. This is the Alabaster. Ew, who wants to have gray skin? That's just not very good. And then probably the worst thing about it is that it smells like oil that is going bad. So yeah, sorry to have to put it out there like that, but I really do not like the concealer. I really feel like they need to reformulate it, figure something else out, because what they're doing is not working. Under normal circumstances, I recommend concealing after foundation when you're using a traditional type of foundation, but with airbrushing, you've got to conceal beforehand. Otherwise, you're going to ruin that beautiful airbrush finish. Another thing that Dinair does that sets them apart from the other companies is that they do Skype lessons. So you can actually sit there on Skype with a Dinair makeup artist and they will show you or walk you through the process. If you have any questions or if you're doing something, you're explaining to them as you're doing it, and they'll be like, oh, let me tell you why that's not really working for you. So I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much to Alyssa for doing the lesson with me, which was amazing. Thank you, because I was really doing some stuff really all kinds wrong even after I watched the DVD. So my recommendations for this kit are for people who have very oily skin, therefore you're going to want a more matte finish, or people who have dry skin that like a matte finish. One thing I would recommend is properly prepping the skin and remembering to blot the oil away from any moisturizers or anything like that. Using a proper primer. I cannot recommend this enough. I love this with the foundations. In fact, I use this with like all my foundations now. Love, 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 love. Smashbox Photo Finish in Light. It's amazing. In terms of do I recommend this for pros or for regular consumers, I really feel that it's only good for about 1 or 2 uses before the old girl just starts struggling along. So I would recommend this as more for personal use. It's great for in the home. It's great for travel because it is so small. It's very convenient. One more thing, it actually does have different plugs for the United States, UK, Europe, Australia, and Japan. So it's, you can use it internationally, which is fantastic. They do have a deal thingy on their kits. You can do a 30-day trial for $29.95, and then after that you can do between 3 and 4 payments of $59.99. So it's easier to break it down, because I know that initial investment in airbrushing is so like daunting. You're like, oh my god, am I really gonna just like give up $200 and like what if I don't like it? So they have a trial period that's really great, and then you can pay it off over the course of a few months. So if you have any additional questions about the airbrush system, I will go ahead and have a link to the Dinair website in the down bar so you could check that out. So that's pretty much all I can say about Dinair. I think that it's definitely a good kit if you're just starting out airbrushing, especially since they have the trial so you can see if you even like it. And then it has the payment option, which is really great because that way you can kind of break it up over the course of a few months. I think that's pretty much all I gotta say about Dinair for now. I hope that you guys found this review very helpful. I put a lot of work into it, like 5 months of my life, and I really enjoyed making it for you. So anyway, if you'd like to see the other reviews, I will include the links to them in the down bar as they're uploaded. So have a great day. I'll see you guys in my next video. Remember to be vintage or tacky. Just be yourself. Bye.